diva look.
Wiggy.
Wiggy.
It's
Wiggy. It's getting wiggy.
Check.
Pop it.
Check one.
Can we make it a little louder?
Yeah.
Just wait until you get banding.
My pussy did get banded. Yikes.
1,
That
2.
was really good.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's really
We
good.
like really
Beep boop
good.
beep.
That's better than okay.
Okay, so we will do the traditional. I think it's just easier if you start.
Okay.
And then I'll go and just like kind of explain why Ty is here.
Okay.
Make the viewers feel it. Feel it in the bones.
Say it louder for the ladies in the back.
Hey, queers.
Louder.
It's actually quieter. In fact.
It's the same thing that happened with him last week. I told him to say it louder. He just said it different. No, louder.
Louder, not different. Louder.
From your titties, girl.
Feel it in your G.
From your titties.
Mickey cheer.
From your sternum.
Oh,
Titties.
Yeah, that's in your titties.
Mhm.
2, 1. Hello. Okay, I thought we were all going to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queeries, where we talk about everything.
Queer.
Absolutely.
You gonna introduce yourself or?
The bitches know. They tune in for me. They should know who's on their TV screen.
Work. Anywho, that's Dylon. If you couldn't
The
tell.
diva.
She's got a wig on this time. I'm Slayde, and then this is Ty.
This is Ty.
Ty's making their debut as another guest host this week. We don't have a guest with us, so we figured we might as well keep a trio vibe kind of going this week, and have all three of us on screen at the same time, because the more the merrier, right?
Yeah, good to be here. Good to be chatting.
Yeah. It will be tea time for sure. Today we're going to be talking all about expression and what it means to be us as queer people. As you can tell, we all have a little bit different of a way of expressing ourselves. She's got her wig with a little butterfly clip
Yeah.
in the back.
Gotta show off for the children.
For all of the children.
Yeah.
And that kind of just leads us into what moments in life have given us the most authenticity, when we felt the most free to express ourselves. Mine is definitely a wig. I love to twirl. I love to flip. I love to shake. I don't know. I feel like it gives me a lot of just things to do with my hands.
Yeah.
I love things to do, especially just like playing with my hair. It's like one of my favorite things to do with people if they have long hair. It's like, can I touch it? I just want to braid it. And so yeah, having hair that's like nice and long and flowy makes me feel kind.
Yeah. I had long hair for 2 years that I had grown out after shaving my head. And that was the fantasy. Having something here, having a mane. I literally looked like a lion with a mane because I'm a double Leo, so it just kind of works. That was definitely like the time that I felt the most femme and was easier to present that way. I think it felt more natural because having long hair helps with that kind of vibe. And once I shaved my head again, it kind of had to switch up on the expression, and you kind of have to adapt to yourself and overcome those parts of you that you may have insecurities about. My hair and my hairline and all that, of course, because men, we often bald. I've been having that issue, and found out it's a lot of trauma and stress that does that, along with 3-in-1.
Genetics as well.
Yeah, if you want to use that 3-in-1 shit, stop it. Your children, that is abuse.
Yeah, soap
Stop.
should be more than one liquid.
No, yes, more than one liquid. Not-
Usually. Typically.
Potentially.
Hopefully.
Allegedly.
How much for a 1 and 3? Or a 3 and 1?
Someone's going number 3.
You want to get pumped? Okay. Ty, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your first times feeling expressive?
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned the hair situation. I mean, I've been shaving my head pretty consistently for about 3-ish years. And I mean, I used to put a lot more effort and care and honestly stress into my hair. And I couldn't quite find a way that felt like right for the longest time, and I was just kind of like, you know what, it's too much work. I'm just gonna cut my losses, and I shaved my own head for the first time, like right when I got out of college. Didn't stick with it consistently for a while, but I mean, honestly, I've never really identified with like terms like mask or femme really in either direction. I've always kind of felt very like strictly in my androgyny lane, and I think just kind of like being able to take a drastic ownership over my own appearance like that, especially just kind of like my approach to gender, I guess, is not wanting anything to do with it. So becoming like completely like hairless was my way. Yeah, stick figure myself was a way to kind of do that.
I've been that way too. I mean, whenever I shaved my head for the first time, it was a very similar experience. Just taking ownership of, you know what, it's my body and it's my hair, and fuck if people have something to say. And of course, people are like, "Oh my gosh, is everything okay?" Like acting as if I went through a whole like mental crisis.
Like you're a Britney Spears or something.
Like, even then, Britney had a great reason.
Exactly.
But anyways, I'm like, it's just the power you feel of like just taking control of your own body and just not caring what other people have to say about it sometimes. So rather if it's cutting my hair off or putting more hair on, it's my damn choice.
You do a great job of inspiring other people to do that too, Deepa.
I try. I'm like, just be your authentic self. You live a lot more happy and just expressive that way. And I feel like real personality shines when you break down like those unnecessary like social walls.
Yeah. And that's kind of what this experience has already taught me so much of, is to be able to sit here and be authentic has felt so much easier than literally any other experience I've had in life.
Yeah.
It has been so nice to just sit down in front of these wonderful cameras and just talk and be myself with my friends and my partner. And that's like an incredibly simple thing to want. And it allows me to be authentic and not have to worry about the fact that I'm wearing a skirt. Because, one, nobody's really seeing this. Well, I don't know what she's seeing over there. She could be seeing so much.
Wow.
Can we get a zoom in of that?
Don't look at my coochie, please. I do. That's on OnlyFans, though. You gotta pay extra.
Yeah. And then also being able to wear makeup, too. And always being expressive with showing off, like, how I want, like, my eyes to look. Do I want to feel, like, soft and, like, colorful today? Or do I want to feel fierce as fuck? And have a liner that goes all the way out. And, I don't know. It also just gives me so much, like, bad bitchery.
Yeah. The confidence that comes from just putting highlight on my face. My confidence. She rises, Heaney. Like all the other men in the room. They rise, Heaney.
See, that's something I've never had much experience with personally, is the makeup or fashion lane of things. I guess I've always kind of dressed and appeared for like utility's sake. So like I wear kind of, I mean, and like that's not to say that I don't stylize myself, you know, like I enjoy my, jewelry and my earrings and my things like that. But I don't, I think I have a pretty minimalist approach to at least physical expression. So that's, I think, kind of where we yin and yang really well, because that's something you really tapped into.
Yeah, very much so. The makeup is something that I started doing in college with my lesbos. They taught me a lot of things and inspired me to do a lot of things, and makeup was one of those. I probably look really good today, but I haven't always looked this good. That's a joke. I have always looked this good. Never had a bad day in my life.
Truly.
But that was a whole journey, because you have to learn what is product, what do the product do, how do apply the product,
and does it look right,
and can I actually look good with the product, or is this made for somebody a little more fishy than me?
Or is this my skin tone, or
my secret. I use an eyeshadow palette for my entire face. Except for highlight. I have some highlight palettes. But I have never spent money on foundation. I have spent money on primer, but I literally put sunscreen on as my primer now. Because sunscreen is everything to me. It's my life energy. If I don't have her, I will get cooked.
Bacon. sizzle.
I think something that would be helpful for our viewers at home would be if we clarified what the different terms that we use for like gender bending, gender nonconforming, gender fluid. There's so many, and we say umbrella term situation going on with transgender being the umbrella term for anyone and everyone who identifies differently under the umbrella of transgender. So being gender nonconforming applies to you in that facet. And so that's another way all of us have very common core value of like, we express ourselves differently.
Yeah. I mean, I think gender, again, is just a construct made to get people into certain boxes. Sometimes helpful, sometimes very destructive. Sometimes very self-destructive, because one time you label yourself something and then you're like, go down in life and you're like, actually, I may be something else, or maybe I might be a mixture of all these things, or maybe I'm nothing at all and I'm just me and I just need to worry about that first.
Yeah, and that's why we need to normalize. That's why we need to normalize experimentation.
Yeah.
Among not just queer people, but
Everyone.
Yeah, the whole population. I mean, I think that the way that you kind of deconstruct those norms is to sort of, what am I trying to say? Get rid of the taboo, I guess.
Destigmatize.
Right,
Yeah.
destigmatize. That's the word.
I got you. Destigmatization is one of those hard things for people to grasp for some reason, because they need the stigma there to have some kind of clout to latch onto with somebody.
That, or if someone gets something, they feel like they're losing something in order for someone else to have something, which is...
Yeah, that scarcity mindset.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the mindset of
A lot of people.
many people. And so you have to deal with that on a basis where it's just people not comfortable with themselves or their self-confidence, and they just self-destruct and
They project it onto
they
you.
project it to others, and it's all about their own shitty feelings and making you feel that way. But so we gotta turn around.
Turn that
Downtown
around.
Julie Brown, gotta meet her in the taxi cab and turn that shit around.
Period.
Hmm.
I followed that totally.
Yeah, around the circle.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I, as myself, as a non-binary individual, feel like I'm both male, female, but also neither male or female. I feel like a little bit alien as well. So like it just makes me feel like I have a free play box to play around in and really explore how I can explore my gender and my sexuality and my personality, my face, my body.
Yeah.
It's just a fun way to just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah. I would say physically, not in like makeup or hair wise, the way I move my body, the way I walk,
Yeah.
the way I talk.
So let's dive into maybe some moments in our lives where our expression has been kind of dimmed or shunned or like shied away from. Like we don't need to talk about it.
Oh.
And let me tell you, my family, and I know your family, and most likely your family. Like my mom is at least supportive and like she understands me and like she loves me for me, but she doesn't understand what it is to be me and like what it's like to exist as me.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like her and people like her, like my family or other people like mindset, just don't necessarily understand what it is to be queer and live in those spaces. And so not feeling validated from people that you love most on stuff that you think is very important to yourself.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts different.
Privilege is really hard to see past until you've been on the other side of it, I think.
Yeah.
So
Which I think we could dive into the privilege conversation a little bit later, because that is something that really happens with expression in workplaces.
okay, I'll put a sticky note on that one.
Put a sticky note on Miss Privilege. Put that on the board.
Or
Family wise, yeah. My mom, she's trying. My parents are very much, my mom is trying. My dad doesn't necessarily seem to be trying too much, but I don't necessarily think he feels like he needs to try in any way. I would say that that's not true, because they didn't try for a long time, so it'd be nice if they started at some point. But It was different being raised out on a farm where
Yeah.
my expression was not my own. It was what my family needed me to be in order to make sure that I got my chores done and I went to school the next day and I did my running for the week or whatever it needed to be. It was what they chose for me, and it was not an expression of me. There were definitely things that I learned about myself through that, and that's kind of what parents are there for, is to teach us who we are through the things we experience. But if we're only experiencing the things they want us to experience, that's a funnel, mama, and that's just creating little mini demons. And I don't want to be just like them, mama. I want to accept everyone for who they are. I want to have kids, and I want those kids to grow up to feel completely free and compelled to be themselves. And
Yeah. I want them to discover that for themselves.
yeah, and not try to push any kind of like, you have to love someone this way, or we have to go to church, or all of like
Or even just things like an expectation of like what a man is supposed to grow into or something like that.
Like what my mom expected me to
Men
be
used to fight wars.
Yeah, before, like instead of what she got.
Yeah. Siblings wise, I have 3 other siblings. I'm the youngest of 4.
Mm-hmm.
We're all very different.
Mhm.
I meant to take a sip, but I did not.
If you didn't take a sip, what was that?
It was me putting it to my mouth because I thought I was going to take a sip, and then I started talking as soon as it touched my mouth.
Actually, I have something.
I have something to say.
As she says.
Did you get closer into the microphone? That's quality audio, baby. That's podcasting. That's podcasting, baby. Queer people of all kinds of walks of life have had, very intimate experiences with family members who don't necessarily understand their personal expressions.
Great, let's get that on camera.
Is it? It's on camera.
Oh, period. I am so sorry, Ty. I thought we were.
You said, shut the fuck up.
I thought we were restarting.
Assume the camera's always going.
I mean, just part of being in, the capitalist cycle that we're in, especially, late stage capitalism, is that conformity is the
Expectation.
the expectation, especially right now in the zeitgeist, because, I mean, that curiosity, especially amongst the younger generations, because so many things are being labeled as like cringe, or there's just that like that curiosity is getting beaten out of children it seems at a much more intense rate than when I was a kid, at least, especially because I felt even in a more conservative family environment, I was more free to explore those things. But I think that, especially among Gen Z and Gen Alpha, it's a little disheartening, but, interesting to see how their like sort of almost slide towards conservatism has made that a less safe space for young people to really explore those things.
Unfortunately, we've bred a culture of criticism.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to be critical of everyone all the time and has some opinion. And I think that's where like the queerness can become this divine version of the word queer, where I don't give 2 shits about what anyone has to say about me. But when you're young and you don't know any different, you haven't been through those life experiences to get you to that point where you're able to have the armor to say, all right, fuck off. Fuck off. You don't get there without lots and lots of life and lots of people breaking you down.
Totally.
So queerness just kind of we have to be built a little bit different.
Especially in public places like work. Because that's where I feel like I have always experienced the most dimming of like personality or expression. And it's like not being able to like come to work authentically myself, and being fired from work because you want to be yourself, or being let go because you're not up to what they want because, you're just too queer for them. You're too different. Like you make too many people uncomfortable because they are uncomfortable with themselves.
That part.
And so I'm like, why do I have to dim myself and dumb myself down and make myself feel worse to make someone else feel better? It just never made sense to me. And so I really try and find that and as a drive to find somewhere where I am going to be feeling appreciated and accepted and loved for exactly who I am, regardless of if I wear makeup or a dress or, act femme or, just the regular things that make up myself on daily cycles. And just like the other part of me where I have more mask days and I want to express myself more manly and, I just want all facets of me to be accepted and loved and not just the one that society wants me to be perceived as for their company.
And I think that fluidity can really be tough in cis-normative spaces, just because that does challenge a lot of people's idea of...
What are you? What are you doing here?
Mm-hmm. Like, no, gender and gender expression does not have to be a concrete
thing.
It can change and have ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys through, the seasons of your life. And you should have the freedom in whatever part of public life that you're in to be able to express that fully in whatever way that might look like on a given day.
Yeah. I also just kind of got out of a work experience that had some discriminatory actions in it as well, based solely on the fact that I was wearing makeup to an after-hours event where everyone else was drunk. Somehow I'm the problem when I have eyeliner on my face. That was a whole situation where it felt very like I was blindsided by the fact that these people were like
making such big things out of small things.
Yeah, and then telling me if you wouldn't wear it in front of a judge, you shouldn't wear it at all. Well, I can wear makeup in front of a judge, and the judge can't say that I'm unlawfully there. Yeah. And he can't kick me out. She can't kick me out. They can't kick me out just because I have makeup on. Pissed.
Yeah, so I just really want to get to a point where I feel like I can be comfortable in the workplace. That's like the one place where I haven't mastered feeling confident and comfortable yet. Just because every time I feel like I get an edge in somewhere, it just immediately just gets like shot out the window. So trying to do that and, be myself at the same time is challenging all the time. But we also talked about really wanting to support women too, and especially in the workplace, and then just in cultural too, and making sure that it's not just a he for a judge. It could be a she, it could be a they, and always making sure that we boast others in this queer community.
If we're going to assume someone's gender, let's not always make it a man.
Yeah.
Sometimes switch it up. Call her a she.
Even
if it is a guy. Like, you see her over there? Yeah, she's pissed.
She's fine, girl. And when I say girl, I mean girl.
With a U.
Yes.
G-U-R-L. Vernacular. Y'all listening?
I do support misgendering cis men.
Yes.
We don't have to get into how.
Yeah. I do call a lot of my guy friends girl. And they get it because they're just like, oh, they
Queen.
Just mean that as affirmation.
Systemically, women are not often empowered.
Mm-hmm.
I know growing up, my sister was very great at a lot of things that she did.
Yeah.
And even then, she wasn't given the pedestal that any of the men who were doing not even as good of a performance as she was, a bigger pedestal just because they were the boys.
Mm-hmm.
The boys team gets to go do all of this shit. And yada, 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 yada. Xena!
You gotta lock the door next time, girl.
I tried.
Xena, you are such an old lady, and I love you, but you're just doing too much.
What do you want to say about gender liberation?
Ginger liberation? I can go into ginger liberation, mama.
Both. Why not?
All right, let's get into gingers. So let's talk about it.
How you doing?
We need to empower our women, That's what this whole conversation's about.
Support.
Yeah.
Especially our lesbian friends. I feel like they don't get enough love in the queer community. I feel like it's mostly always talked about gay forward or trans forward, but we always need to always remember our lesbian sisters too, because I have been touched by so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And they are a vital part of my essence and who I am and how I became to be myself.
Yeah.
So I always take the time of day to boost up my ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I am your hype girl.
That part. When you're in the club, we be bumping that.
And we all fail.
We all fail.
We all
Both of those, yeah.
And I love going clubbing with my girlies because All my girlies got big, fat, juicy asses
And titties.
and they can shake them just like me. And it's great.
And
it's
they're
a good
so
time.
supportive.
And they're so supportive, and they want you to go in.
They're in there for the right reasons, for the reasons why you went, not to, you know, be like
Hit
for the
on.
attention of a man all
Yeah.
the time, or
Right.
like going for the attention of someone else, just going to have a good time.
Yeah. And that's a missed part of our society so much
Mhm.
because we are so attention seeking. So
Guilty.
attention seeking.
I am guilty.
Guilty as well. We're on
Sure.
fucking cameras.
Mhm.
Of course we're attention seeking. Look at us. But there's a difference because we're at least doing it in a way that is one, positive, and two, making a difference for somebody. Hopefully somebody sees these videos and is like, oh my gosh, representation.
That bitch.
That matters.
That cunt.
That shit.
Thank you,
Uh,
shit, bitch.
You ain't even to fart.
I am the whole shark, mama. Don't get me started. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Bitch, I'm the whole bowel movement.
I ate dinner before this.
There was, let's see, women who are idols. I mean, in the last episode, we talked a lot about our musical idols. I think we could go into a little bit of a conversation about who our idols are and like how the way we express ourselves. So who we look at and are like, oh, okay, I really like the way this person does that. So like, I'm going to adapt a way to do that.
Beyonce, Shakira,
Cardi B,
Mhm.
Megan.
Cardi B, Megan.
Perfect.
Period.
I see that for him.
But is it drag? Because I get that question all the time on if my self-expression is drag. And to some extent, yes, because I am very influenced by drag queens and drag culture and the ball scene. And that's a really pivotal part of what makes me me. So in a sense, yes, it is drag, but I'm not doing it for drag, if that makes sense. I'm just doing it because it's the way I want to present myself to others and just be authentic in how I'm feeling that day.
To quote RuPaul, we're all born naked and the rest is drag. So if you take that stance on it, anything and everything somebody puts on is drag. Unless you're fully nude, Haney.
Yeah.
So all you people out there who have a thing against drag queens, who would like to ban their existence and put them into a even smaller corner, know that you've done drag too just by waking up and putting on your clothes. So you should put yourself in the corner.
That part.
I think it's really important for us to talk about where we can actually go for safe spaces.
Yeah.
Whether that be our own homes, which is hopefully a safe space. For some people, it's not always. But for us, it is. This is a safe space for us to be ourselves.
Home / studio / party house / everything under the sun, I feel like.
Yes. She is versatile.
A lot of things happening on in these sugar walls.
Mm-hmm. Them roast beef curtains.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay.
Safe
I feel safest. Definitely at the club.
Mhm.
I feel like that is definitely my safe space just because,
Mhm.
again, I love to dance. I love to be around people. I love to have attention. The music just going through my bones and just making me have a good old time with my girlies. And that's where I feel really safe as a queer person. Is definitely in the neighborhood or just a
Mhm.
gay bar.
Wherever there's a pride flag,
Yeah,
usually.
wherever a
Yeah.
pride flag, I feel immediately safe.
Yeah. No, not immediately, because sometimes they may have the pride flag, but that doesn't mean they're reflecting what it means.
Right.
I could name drop some coffee shops. Toast and Coffee, owned by a queer couple. Willow Coffee Company, also owned by a queer couple. Extremely safe spaces. Both places that I go to often and walk into feeling like a baddie because I walk in the door and people are like, oh my God, you look so good. I'm like, I know.
It's nice
Thank
to
you.
feel that sense of, oh, I'm special coming into somewhere, or at least I'm just enough to not be like looked at negatively, you know, and just like be like everyone else and just be like, okay, like I fit in here too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you catch a vibe, you know, some days, and other days you wake up and you're hungover as fuck and you're like, I need my coffee. And then those divas are like, I got you.
I got you, girl. I can tell you're
Don't
down.
you worry.
You're down a little bit.
You want that matcha lemonade? Yes, ma'am.
You can have that grass.
I hate matcha. Matcha lemonade.
Leafy.
What about some places that, you know, people that are like kind of struggling with their identity and maybe don't have it as easy as just going to the club or going home? What other resources? Because I know you're really big into like the community spaces and therapizing the children. So where other spaces can others go to find some queer refuge?
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're located. If you're up north, more towards Edmond, I would definitely recommend checking out the BGLTQ Plus Research Center on campus at UCO. Extremely safe place. Find some local coffee shops if that's something you're into.
Full Circle.
That's literally where I was about to go. Full Circle's a bookshop / coffee shop / lunch shop.
Ran by the queers.
And
I was also going to say, like, bookstores in general, Literati Press in the Paseo is a great space for that.
Mm-hmm. Arts districts in general.
Truly.
Yeah, the Plaza, the Paseo. I always felt very safe in most of those places.
Yeah.
There's also a spot on Western now called Bookish. They will host a lot of different like local artists and stuff for events and shows. It's a really great vibe.
Local businesses.
Mm-hmm. It's incredibly important to support local businesses, especially in this economy.
Yes.
Especially your queer, people of color. If it's a woman-owned business, do your research. Honestly, it's worth finding those
many queer
hole
spaces.
in the wall spots when they're not really hole in the walls. They're genuinely good places. They're just not advertised because they're not the normal places to be.
Right.
But if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And this is where you can find out.
So we did talk about a little bit, I guess, just some of the like larger societal kind of barriers to expressing yourself more fully, whether that be through appearance, through aesthetic, or just through the way you want to carry yourself. I guess I kind of want to start touching on just the larger issue of gender expression and gender liberation in American and Western culture right now. Mm-hmm. Just the way that things kind of feel like they're backsliding culturally.
Into racing.
Yep, exactly. So I guess just kind of steering the conversation towards my like query that I guess I'm bringing this time is like, how do we, as individuals and as a community, fight back against sort of that like conformist tide, you know?
Yeah. Showing up, being present, being expressive, being yourselves, making sure that no matter how hard they try to silence us or diminish our shine or erase us, they can't.
Yeah,
they won't
support the people that are being queer and expressive and creating queer art and existing in queer spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important for us to be able to know that we can be free, and we live in America, so we're supposed to be the land of the free.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But I saw something where it was talking about since the Patriot Act, privacy in America hasn't necessarily been a thing because 9/11 changed the tide for privacy everywhere in the U.S. because they want to know if somebody's going to be a terrorist. Understandable. However, that comes with a lot of prejudice, comes with a lot of racism, comes with a lot of xenophobia, and a lot of bigger issues of like, hey, they're literally looking at literally everything you're doing on your phone, what you're watching, what you're listening to. That's why your commercials are the way they are. That's why
you get the ads you get.
Yeah. And that's why we're hearing about Trump working with Peter Thiel and Palantir to build a registry of every American right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're trying to do an autism,
a lot of things.
Registry as well. Anyone who is neurospicy, they're trying to put on a registry so that way they can deem them less capable. Yeah. Which is where the term Asperger's came from in Nazi Germany. Is what the scientists called people who were neurodivergent. They called them Asperger's. They had Asperger's, so they were less than. So we don't use Asperger's anymore, people.
As you said it,
clinically.
You're saying what not to say.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's a different kind of slur.
Yeah, and it's also just a way of separating neurodivergent people from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something that is a modern tactic amongst the right, is dividing us through like manipulated infighting. I mean, you see all these like drop the T campaigns right now that's really one of the most heinous attacks on gender expression that I've seen.
Yeah.
Because it's literally for like it's I don't know to what extent it is genuinely from within the community and what is from outside agitators, but there is that push among cis gay people.
Yeah, we can't cannibalize each other.
Yeah.
This is the time to really support every alphabet letter. And
Exactly.
really showing up and showing out and being like, no, because if they're going to treat trans people this way, they're going to treat lesbians this way, they're going to treat gay people this
Absolutely.
way, they're going to treat anyone queer that way. So, like, we really don't need to be allowing for any type of, just overreach on the government's part into our personal expressions. And I'm like, that is just like something totally out of reach for anyone to, say what you should and shouldn't express yourself.
And bending yourself to what fascism wants you to be is not going to make you any safer than you were. Because that system always cannibalizes itself in the end.
Yeah, and it starts with wanting to like drag, ban, and really get rid of queer entertainment and get rid of like visually queer proud people and
silence the minorities.
Yeah, and sadly, it's happening in Oklahoma at a really alarming rate and has already been passed in the legislature with House Bill 1217 and taking away the right for people to be in drag in public spaces performing when it could be seen as obscene and like that's such a loose interpretation of what like a small section of drag might be, but I just feel like it's such a big censorship on just the queer community, and that is something that we really need to change ASAP.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's so intentionally vague that they want to be able to describe drag as anything that could be gender non-conforming.
Yep. It's pretty much a way for them to say if you don't dress like your sex assigned at birth.
Yeah, if you be looking fruity.
Yeah, if you be looking fruity, we're going to take you literally pretty much. Which I guess in this situation they made it a fine, I believe. It's not actually, they can't arrest you for it.
But either way, it's restriction on something that should not be.
Be restricted.
And I'm
absolutely.
Like, yes, I get like people wanting like their children maybe not to be around drag entertainment, but then don't bring your children around drag entertainment.
You have control over that.
Like if you're bringing your kid to Pride on the Plaza, you're gonna see drag. Like, hello. So I just don't understand what's the point of this other than to, make people feel uneasy to be themselves or scared to be themselves.
And I mean, if you really want to get down to like the nitty gritty of why they're trying to take away rights, is they really want to get rid of women's rights. They're just targeting us as like that population because we're a minority. They can target us and make it look like this is who they're really going after. But if you pull back and actually pay attention, they word things so that way they can pretty much get rid of like the ability for women to have women's rights. So
yeah, I mean that's always the finish line. I mean it always kind of boils down to that once everybody else is.
But that's what Hitler did too. He didn't like anyone who went against him, and women who felt independent from him, he wanted to make sure that they were chastised and put down as well. So that's where we have to make sure we talk about intersectionality and the fact that we are all interconnected in our struggles.
Yeah, and the fact that so much of homophobia and queerphobia does come from that like center place of misogyny most of the time.
Yeah. Toxic masculinity.
Especially in the military and thinking that you need to be macho and like a certain type of soldier in order to be in the military. And when we have trans individuals fighting for my right to exist and like just because they're trans shouldn't exclude them from military service if that's what they want to do, if they want to protect the queer youth in this country by serving their country. I have only the highest aspirations for that.
Yeah, we've talked about how they're pretty much wanting to illegitimize trans people.
Yeah, I mean
in the military.
The phrasing of the current ban on trans people serving in the military, the way that it is phrased, and I don't have that exactly in front of me, but it essentially is calling acting or living in a way that is not
fraudulent.
Right. Like it's essentially if you're not acting as the gender you were assigned at birth, then you are committing some sort of fraud. And that is then the first foot in the door of opening a legal pathway to making some sort of like legal case for transness being illegitimate or felonious.
Yeah, and just trying to erase a whole identity and a whole culture of people, just like they never existed, will never happen. I will not stand for that. And I know so many people that will, and we continue to fight. And yeah, it's something definitely worth needing protecting. And trans lives are very important, and now more than ever, like they really need support. They really need people behind them and in their corner. So.
And let's have a little educational moment. Marsha P. Johnson. If you haven't heard that name, look it up right now.
Pause the podcast.
she is the reason that we have Pride today. She was the person who threw the first brick at Stonewall. She was a trans woman of color. We have to recognize that lesbians were the ones who treated the gay people during the AIDS epidemic in the hospitals. They often were volunteering for that. And they were not getting paid because they weren't getting funded. So there's a reason the L comes first in a lot of the ways that we talk about the alphabet mafia. Because the lesbians are the heroes of the story. They are the ones who have done all of the work for us to even exist today.
A lot of the work, yes.
Yeah. And then we have our transgender folk who have
created the whole culture.
Yeah, literally.
Exactly.
The ballroom culture, drag culture, so much of queer culture is centered around people of color being trans, and it's just so much people don't realize how much trans people of color have.
The vernacular that gays use, the dance moves that we use, all of that came from somewhere, and I can tell you it was not hokey punk Mississippi. So yeah, just educate yourself on things before you feel the need to fully express yourself in that kind of prejudice, because there are people who that truly affects whenever you are not educated. You hurt a child whenever you say something dumb as fuck on Facebook. You hurt a kid on the inside, an adult child even, you could say, because we have inner children.
Your words have power, and your words have meaning. So you need to definitely take a second to realize, like, hey, who am I speaking to? Does it look like someone who may be using different pronouns? Maybe I should just use, they pronouns until I am for sure of their gender. Like just using your brain to like, hey, like maybe I should be more courteous, or maybe I should
act first.
Yeah,
make them comfortable first. Say, hi, my name is Slayde. I use all pronouns. Perfect. Exactly. Now they know that that's my expectation on how I want to be.
Especially in the workplace where I feel like it's definitely missing.
Oh, yeah. Well, even my job that is not actually attached to the state asked us to remove our pronouns from our email things. Of course, I did not, because I need people to know that when they address me, they can use any pronouns, because I do not always love being called sir, because it doesn't always feel right. But I have gotten a few ma'ams, and that feels fun. That does feel fun. They're like, oh, you're so nice, ma'am. I'm like, oh my God, thanks. And then they're quiet for a little bit because I think they realize in that moment, that that's a man, Maury.
That's a man. I don't know. I just really want to make sure that we are protecting queer people in queer spaces and always uplifting every member of our community and really making sure that each of us thrive and is happy and can live authentically. And I really hope we can get to a point where that is the norm again.
Yeah, I think we have to, it's that pendulum swing, like right now
if they hit, we got to hit harder.
Yes. And I know a lot of people want to pull punches and like be the bigger person all the time. I am that girl. That's how I was raised. But of course, that's how I was raised. I was taught to be smaller, to be quieter, to not necessarily say my piece. I'm unlearning things, everyone. That's one of them. Because I'm tired of this whole world thinking we can just step on everybody that has a different life, has a different point of view, has something else to say, strictly because they're not the majority and they should just be quiet. I get it. Democracy. That's what we think life is. Unfortunately, that's just government. Life is not a democracy. We should not be living life like it's politics. Life should be life. We just live it as ourselves, loving each other, and being open. Honestly, the hippies got it right. Follow suit. Listen to
Not
the
too
hippies.
late to jump on that bandwagon.
No, buy some tie-dye. I know you know how to make it. You all made it at some point in your life. Make more. Embrace it.
And then just the implications of like being denied your identity and being able to externally define yourself or have your own self-constructed idea of like how you want to present yourself or how you label yourself. We're all different, but it just needs to people to understand the implications of what it means to have that taken away and not to have that voice and not to have that recognition, especially from people in power who make a lot of big decisions that influence everything we do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like our president only certifying 2 genders is definitely not okay because
it's a social construct
Insane.
anyways. Like, how do you do that? Like,
yeah.
Thank you.
Our
so
intersex
much.
brothers and sisters and everything in between and like people who are not born on that binary scale
Yeah.
and even mentally as well. Like our trans brothers and sisters and everyone in between, like there is way more to gender than just black and white. It is a spectrum. And to deny that it is and that you're one or the other is very traumatizing. And I've seen a lot of just people express how they don't feel comfortable with like their identification cards because they don't label them how they wish to be labeled, and it makes them feel very uncomfortable because imagine going to a different country with, you know, a male label on your passport, but you present feminine and then you get detained and ask all these questions and it makes you feel so bad about yourself, like you're doing something wrong.
Unnecessary trauma.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it breeds nothing but negativity and just chaos and makes people not feel safe. And that is not what we need to be going towards.
No. Safety is a human right. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And notice I didn't say a straight or a gay or a trans human right. It is a human right, period.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be separating us when it comes down to that. We are all humans.
There's bigger things to worry about than
Literally.
what's between someone's legs or how they express themselves.
Oh my gosh. The trans people in America make up less than 1% of the entire population, yet our taxpayer dollars that aren't going towards any welfare are going towards our Congress people who are doing jack shit for us.
Besides
Other than yelling
separating
about
us more.
the fact that there are trans people in the military. There's literally like 300 trans people in the military. I'm being facetious.
Rough estimate.
Rough estimate. Very rough. I don't know the real number, but it's not a lot. There's less Olympic athletes in college that are trans than there are cases. There are more cases of measles in Texas currently than there are trans people in college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not worried about the measles outbreak in Texas, now are we? We eradicated her already. Why is she back? RFK Jr. Welcome to the chat, girl. Get that tapeworm out of here.
Yeah. There's just so much going on that I feel like is just feeding into a tube of Trump's ego.
Oh.
Just trying to pass whatever horrible agenda that he wants every single day, and then having to constantly like do Supreme Court decisions. And I'm like, that is not how this system is meant to work. Like,
No.
you're not supposed to be testing the limit and seeing what you can get away with and how much damage you can cause to a community. Like, this is...
That's what his first term was for.
Yeah.
That
For
was
real.
the test run.
Yeah. And so now we have to deal with it until it's over, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So midterms, make sure you go vote, because
Yes.
midterms can be a turning point for us. We can take control of the House or the Senate or both of
It's very important to have your
Something.
voice heard.
something.
Yeah.
Something. Go vote, because if you don't vote and you start complaining, we're going to have another conversation. All of that to say that there has been a lot of conversations around expression and gender, and there needs to be several more.
I mean, I'm sure that we'll touch on some of these topics more in future episodes, but I do think that this was a great way to kind of lay the base of just sort of our general philosophies on, personal expression, especially gender expression.
Well, we have one last query to get to, and then we're going to wrap everything up with a pretty little bow.
What is that query saying?
The query today is what does it mean to express one's true self in a world that imposes definitions of gender?
I think it means just to be authentic, be yourself, unapologetic. I say that a lot, but it's because I truly mean it. It's a way of living in your mental to make reality just a little bit easier for yourself. There could be a million and one things going on outside that will tell you that you're wrong, that you don't belong, that you're not wanted, that you're not loved, that you're not accepted by your own country, and like you're not being seen and you're not being valued at the worth you bring. And so I just live authentically, love yourself, and just never let people, take anything away from you that is for your own benefit, especially when it comes to gender expression, because that's at the end of the day all you have is how you present yourself to the world. So don't dim it.
That part, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just once you realize that expectations are all imaginary, and that really any rule about the way that you should be, I mean, even using the word should in relation to like one's existence is kind of an arbitrary thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once I think you're able to come to terms with the fact that there really is no right or wrong answer to being yourself, and to being true to like your needs and your desires and the way that you want to interact with the world. I think that there's so much freedom in that I think tends to scare a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But leaning into that fear is so important, because that's how you are able to kind of break past those barriers that have been set on you by the rest of the world. I mean, that's how you
get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's how you find yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just fuck expectations.
That part.
How about you, Ms. Mom?
I agree so much with the expectations piece. Y'all have said some very good things already, so I'm going to try to not say the same things over again. We live in a world that likes to make sure that we have some way to identify, because we like a label. We like to be able to slap something on something and be like, all right, let's cover her.
Put her in a box.
Put her in a box. Unfortunately, we've always been taught to subtly break out of the box and think outside of the box.
Put that box in another box.
Put that box in another box.
Smash it with a hammer!
Literally do so many different things. But then when it comes to us actually like expressing ourselves, they're like, oh, wait, no. That's not the box we wanted you to get out of. Actually. So you're going to stay in that box because that's where we like you. But if you're true to yourself and you find out that that's not a box you belong in, it's time to break out, mama. And it's hard. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to unlearn things.
Yeah.
You have to break down your walls, your barriers, and you have to make sure that you push through those things because people are waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah, and I mean, there are going to even be some people who aren't going to roll with the real you, and that's how you find out who matters, honestly.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, the person that matters most is you.
Exactly.
Number one. You got to look out for number one. And if you're looking out for number one in a way that is kind to yourself, then that's going to extend to the people around you too, because we are a product of our environment. And so if we surround ourselves with people who express themselves differently, then we feel more free and more open to do the same thing. We have people in our lives who are heterosexual, but still like to be flamboyant and still like to express themselves around us in a very free way because they know we're going to welcome them with open arms.
And we're not going to question, are you
space.
gay now? Like,
Yeah.
it's something you catch from being around us. No, it's just...
Did you catch the gayness?
Did you catch the gay? No, it's just her living authentically and eating her oats.
Mm-hmm. Filling her oats, eating all of them, and making sure that they come out perfect.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most
Yeah.
amazing things I get to see is the people who surround themselves with queer people are them authentic selves. Like, they're happy, they laugh, they They're not afraid to be funny or make fun of themselves or try something new. I feel like queerness invites a lot of, a lot of kindness and a lot of patience.
A lot of levity.
But
A lot of love.
we have to do that internally too, because I know we, like, as a queer individual myself,
We're good at taking care of each other, not so much
Yeah.
sometimes ourselves.
it's really hard to actually put that self-love in to like practice and like actually love every part of your being, because again, we've been told so many different things in our lives and we may not have identified with any of them,
right.
but we have to figure out how do we feel about ourselves.
Yeah.
So do that self-exploration and talk to other people about it while you're doing it. Don't feel like it is fully like self-love journey is alone. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There are people around you who are going through the same journeys. And
Absolutely.
there are people around you who have already been through them. There are people around you who haven't gone through them yet.
Yeah, and
So
it's
you
not
are an
gonna be
example
linear
for
either.
them. It's not going to be linear. There are people who mature at the age of 12, and then there are people who don't mature until the age of
At all.
22 for the same thing. It's all about the things we're exposed to and the times that we have to really push through and like show who we are to ourselves. Because if I didn't quit my job and start doing this, who would I be? That was a great question. We had to struggle there for a little bit. We had to figure it out. But that's the point. We are able to stop ourselves from the path that we were set on and reflect on who we are and understand these are the things that I really liked about what I was doing. These are the things that I didn't, and I didn't like the way these things made me feel. So let's take the skills I learned, the things that I know, and apply those to my life in a way that feels constructive and feels free and feels liberating.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's really about. If you can do the things that you love authentically, it doesn't feel like anything but just existing in your own skin and like being yourself.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what expressing your true self in this kind of world is like.
Exactly. And when those doubts do creep in, that's okay. I mean, like I said, it's not linear, the path to self-love is not just like a switch on, switch off enlightenment situation. It's something that you have to choose every day, every morning when you get up, that you're going to put work into loving yourself,
Yeah.
and that you're going to put work into cultivating the truest you that you can put out into the world.
But don't get it twisted. Being queer, being gay is not a choice.
Right.
That's not.
It's a
That's
choice to love yourself.
Yes.
It's
It's a
not
choice to accept it.
Yes, it's a choice to accept that, hey, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is what makes me happy. So make that choice for yourself. And
Yeah.
choose that self-love, because it is definitely worth it.
Yeah. And we want to hear from you all. What are some queries that you all have been having? You've seen us do some operations on this end, but we are all about the community, so we want to know what you all want to see from us and what kind of topics you want us to cover and who you want to see on the channel. And, I mean, if
Put
you
it all
want
in the comments.
if you want to
Yeah.
say Lady Gaga, come on the channel, like just let us know. Like we'll get her. It's fine. We'll call her people, or people will call our people. Which is
I mean,
us.
I have heard right now. But yes, if you love the work we do and you want to continue seeing the channel grow, please subscribe. Please interact, engage, share, like, comment, all the thingies.
follow us.
Yes. Where can you find us, Slade?
You can follow us on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Substack. Substack is our main hub. That is, in fact, our website. On there, we'll have links to all of our other social medias. TikTok is also available. That one is still being worked on. She's a work in progress, as is everything. But Spotify is up and running, and that is something I feel very cool to like be able to go on Spotify and have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay, professional.
I know, right? I said,
Okay.
Spotify for creators. Let me
Her.
pull that app up. She's purple. Y'all got a purple Spotify? I do. Okay. But seriously,
Yes. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate
you.
all the love, all the shares, all of everything. So until next time, stay curious.
I'm Slayde,
I'm Dylon.
And I'm Ty.
and this has been Queeries, Mama.
We'll see you next time, honey.
Bye.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Ah! Yay!
Hey.
Is there